Many of our employer partners have questions about what's going on at Mason. We know that college and higher education is in the news right now, so we thought it might be helpful for you to know what's happening with our institution. For the fall 2020, we're running at about 30% capacity, meaning number of students on campus, number of classes being taught in person. So there are students on campus. We are open. Many of us report to campus at least once a week, if not multiple times. We have 3,500 students living on campus right now. So there are residents there in the dorms. For the majority of classes, though, you're going to see a hybrid situation. Students that are reporting possibly once a week to an in-seat class, as well as then working online for the rest of those courses. Interestingly, George Mason experienced an increase in our enrollment this particular semester. And I'm sure some of that has to do with students returning to the area, maybe not wanting to be a resident of other institutions, and also just kind of coming back to where they know it's a very populated area. So we do have even more students than we've had in previous semesters. So this gives you somewhat of an idea of the mindset and the situation happening at George Mason. This fair, if you've been involved with previous fairs at Mason, it's a little bit different. It's still a 2-day fair, but there's no daily themes. So employers were not separated out based on, for example, technology or business or finance. All students are being invited to both days of the fair. It's open to alumni, it's open to students. For alumni that may be in a career transition, you might see more of them at this fair. We'll know that as registration opens and we get a little bit closer to the event. But one thing I can tell you is Mason students have somewhat of a limited engagement online, meaning that many of our employer partners are in Mason's backyard. So for the most part, our students are used to you either coming to our campus or going to see you at your headquarters or in the local vicinity. So this virtual situation is new, not only for our employer partners, but certainly for our students. So we're asking for some grace as they get through these first couple of virtual events. And we're here to help answer questions, but just kind of, again, giving you the mindset of where our students are at, where our alumni are at as we enter into this event. So we're gonna ask you 3 poll questions during today's event, and this is the first one. I will ask Bernadette to launch that poll question so that everybody on the call today can answer that.
Okay, I'm just launching the poll now. Oops, sorry, hold on. I have to do the right one. Well, let's see, I don't want that one. I'm not sure how to get
it. It happens.
Sorry. All right, let me go back to the beginning. There we go.
So we're trying to get a read of how many virtual fairs you've attended. So we'd be interested to know, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We can give everybody about 10 more seconds or so, and then we'll go ahead and we'll close it. We have 83% participation. That's pretty good.
Okay. Shall I close this for you, Victoria?
Please. So for the most part, we have over 50% of today's participants saying they've never participated in a virtual fair before. 30% or so 1 to 4, and then 15% that are experts on today's call. So with 5 or more virtual fairs. So this is good for us to know as we walk through this information with you. Thank you for participating. All right, so what's going on with the virtual fairs? How are you successful in them? We're going to talk about all this. But one thing that's important, no matter if you have had previous experience in a virtual fair or if you have not, it's important that you know our job fair platform. The job fair platform that we're using for this particular event is Jobs Connected. And I know Bernadette's already received emails from many of you asking about it. So we wanted to walk you through and show you what your options are, how it looks, etc. This is the registration page. So Bernadette sent everybody an email and told you, although you registered on Handshake, you will also need to build your employer booth. You'll need to register and build an employer booth on Jobs Connected. So when you click on the link that Bernadette put in that email for you, this is the page that you will get to, and you'll begin to register. I'll give you lots of details today about registration. We know what the popular questions are that you probably have in your mind, so we'll get you some answers. But this is the landing page. What I want to do now is I want to toggle over to a document that shows you some screenshots of each of the different pages as you're registering. This is pretty important. Also, as I already said, once we get through today's presentation, we're going to share with you these documents. All right, so I'm going to share a different screen. Here it is. Okay. So everybody now should be looking at something that's called an Employer's Guide to Building Your Jobs Connected Employer Page. If not, let me know ASAP in the chat, but I'm thinking everyone sees it. All right, so what I want to do is, again, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit to make sure that we can see it. And then we're going to share this out with you at the end. So once you get Bernadette's link, you're going to register. What does that mean? It means you have to actually create an account. So before you build the booth, you have to register with your email, your name, etc. Now, what happens if 2 people or 3 or 10 of you from your company are going to this fair? Only 1 person needs to register. Your company is being registered by 1 person, and 1 person is building the booth. So, but even though many of you will attend on the day of. So that's the first question. We get a lot of those questions. So what you'll want to do is click on the link and go to the registration page. What will that look like? Well, once you register, okay, wait, let me back up. Sorry, you're going to register first. So that'll be your name, your email, phone number, your title, stuff like that. Once you register, you will then build out your page. So you're going to actually set up your company page. You see that at the top in blue, it says set up company page. This is where you create your booth. So what can you enter in there? We're going to give you a lot of details about that. But of course, your organization name. Hopefully everyone can see this. I'm trying to zoom in a bit. Organization name, how long you're going to be at the event. We know that this event is 11 to 3, so it's a 4-hour event, but maybe there's a situation where you can't stay all 4 hours. You would let us know here. Job locations. Let us know where those jobs are located. The jobs that students and alumni will be coming to the booth to talk about. Why does this matter? Everybody, the students and the alumni, they're filtering for jobs based on location. It's one of the filter criteria. So if you don't tell us the location, it's possible they might miss filtering to your booth. If you have any questions about this, please let us know. Open positions. What are you recruiting for at this event? Enter that information. So this is what it looks like as you're creating your company page. This is just a screenshot. Next step in the process is that you'll want to include any content, right? It's 2020, everyone's used to seeing content like videos, social media, etc. So there is a box that's in the middle of this create a page, to create the company profile. There's a box with a link, and that's how everything becomes clickable. So if you'd like to take them back to your open jobs, if you would like to take them back to see About Us page or about diversity and inclusion initiatives, all that is linkable using this link. So you can type all the information you want in there. You can also upload a link, like a profile link or an image, like a company logo or something along those lines. So you can upload images here. And you can also share your handshake page. All that is available. So this is the kind of information when you create your company page that you'd want to bring with you. If you're someone that's thinking, you know, I have to ask around, maybe get my colleagues involved, that's fine. Just ask everyone to send it over to you. Then hit submit. Once you have everything there, you just hit submit and it populates onto your page. And of course you can go right away and see it. So after you hit submit, it's going to bring you back to this page and you just click My Company Page. Once you click My Company Page, this is what you're going to see. Your company logo should show, your company name, your locations, the job types, and open positions. So you should see all of that. If you were just to click on any one thing, it'll take you back to your booth. So you can go ahead and take a look at it. Now, some of you are already thinking, Victoria, that's a whole lot of steps to do. I don't know. I'm not that tech savvy. If you're having any concerns, don't worry. At the bottom of this page, you see this email address, support@jobsconnected.com. Go ahead and email them here with your video link or your pictures or your e-brochures. Whatever it is that you need to add to your page, just email them and they will get that right on there for you. So they provide the full support. If you create your company page and you only enter half the details and you need to come back tomorrow or the next day to do the rest, that's totally fine. Don't feel the pressure that you have to do it the very first time you log in. So there is some options to keep coming back. And finally, if you were to leave the computer completely and now you come back the next day, what are you looking for? You just go to Jobs Connected. At the top, it says login. You'll just enter that login that you created for your registration and you'll begin again. You're gonna hit login and then going back up to the top once again, you're going to go to My Company page, click on this information, and now you're back in your employer booth. And whatever you populate in here is what students see before they decide to come into your actual virtual career fair booth. So I know it's the first time many of you are hearing this, so it's a lot of detail, but this is the step-by-step of how you'll be going through and creating your company page so that you're ready to go. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint slide. So everyone now should see the Jobs Connected October 8th and 9th career fair slide. And again, if you're just joining us, you will get this information as part of an email attachment at the end of today's presentation. And there's also a recording so you can listen again. Bernadette has a second poll question, and she's going to go ahead and launch that for us now.
Okay, Victoria, let me just pull up my next poll question number 2, and I'm going to launch it now.
We'd like to know what students and alumni should expect to see on your page. What information, what media will you share with them in your virtual booth? Give you about another 5 to 10 seconds or so, and then we're going to take a look. We're about 70% in. Okay. We can go ahead and close it, Bernadette.
Okay, I will close that, and now I'll be sharing the results.
Perfect. Okay, so many people expect to share the company overview, the handshake job listings. Please do that, that's very important. Resume Dropbox, which we'll go over soon, social media links. Yes, our students are being told to get on and find you on social media and do research. Videos, e-brochures, good. So we're hoping to have a multimedia rich experience as the job seekers are going through and taking a look at your page. So thank you so much for participating. And we're happy to answer questions about how you get any of this information onto your page. Thanks, Bernadette. All right, so as we move forward, we're going to talk more about the platform. This is a lot of really good information. We've gotten some questions in the past, so hopefully this answers those. When a student clicks into your booth, this is how it looks. So they've already looked at your videos, your pictures, your e-brochures, and they were given a chance to now speak to you. This is what the inside of the booth looks like when they're talking to an employer. Jobs Connected is a video job fair platform. So while some of us are familiar with the chat only features of some providers, this is 90% of the time a direct face-to-face video or voice platform. So this is what it looks like. We're going to go through exactly what all the features and functions are, but I just wanted to kind of let you see that. You can see at the bottom, muted. Everybody is muted upon entry. The student or alumni arrives muted and with their video off. They have to then turn their video on. So it could take a moment between the time they connect and the time that you actually see and or hear them. So on this page, do you have any idea who the recruiter might be? It's Valinda. I know it's Valinda because she was kind enough to put her company name in here. In just a moment, you'll see what it looks like when we have a little bit more engagement in a room. But this is really helpful. A best practice, please be sure to tell us which company you're with as we click into the room, because sometimes we have a lot of different students in a room and it's difficult to tell. For example, here we go. Rooms can get really crowded. In fact, your Jobs Connected video room could have up to 30 people in it. And there have been times where we have very close to that number. So letting the student know who you are, the company you represent, the fact that you're a recruiter or a Mason alum, there's a lot that you actually could choose to put in there. We'll tell you how to do that in just a few minutes. On the left-hand side of the screen, you may notice, and I'll zoom in here. On the left-hand side of the screen, you may notice that there's different things that a student or alumni could choose to engage in. There's 3 features. The first is attendees. You just saw that actually on the last screen here. You saw who the people were that were in the room. Now we're seeing the chat. So in addition to video and voice, there's also chat. There's a whole lot going on in this room, which is great for virtual engagement. So please, as you're talking about staffing, we're going to advocate for this. Doing this alone it's not really an option. One person needs to be on the video, one person needs to be on the chat, at least 2 of you. And we can talk about that in more detail, but this is why. There's a lot of dialogue happening as everybody's coming and going. There's also a notes feature, which I'll show you in just a moment what that's all about and how that looks. On the next screen here, you can see that this recruiter has chosen on the notes section to leave some information for students. So as students enter the room, for example, if this employer is already speaking to someone, what do? They can go into the notes section. And they've had their own webinar. Students and alumni have participated in their own webinar. They know that the notes section is there. So you can give them some detail. Maybe this is your FAQs. Maybe it's links to open jobs. Maybe it's qualifications. The notes section is whatever you want to make it. But this is something that's important to note. Once a job seeker leaves your booth and they leave the fair completely, whatever is in that note is going to be sent to them via email. So that is their takeaway. They'll remember your booth, they'll remember the opportunities or what you told them or your contact details because it's in the notes section. That is the outgoing email they receive from your company. So you'll want to think in advance what your notes section might look like. We'll talk a little bit today about how you fill up a 4-hour job fair, but this gives you a really good idea. Students are arriving, and what will they see in your booth when they get there? It's going to be this engagement. Now, Paige chose to, every 5 minutes, every 20 minutes, to put on a presentation where she's answering those most frequently asked questions or information she wanted job seekers to know. Here's where it is. You can share your screen inside the platform, and you can go over content. Something that's interesting to note on the left-hand side is we still have, and I just zoomed in a little bit, but we still have the notes section and the chat. It's over here to the left. So just a lot going on your screen when you're thinking about what you'll be looking at on the day of the fair. Bernadette, is there anything I need to answer before I move on? I'm happy to do that.
So far, we've had just a few questions, and I've taken care of those, mostly about getting the slides afterwards, and we will be doing that.
Absolutely. So this is important. Thank you. So this is important. When a student goes into Jobs Connected, they are looking first at your booth. They're looking to see, what are you hiring for? What information did you upload? And then later, they're getting the chance to go talk to you on the day of the actual event. So there's 2 pieces of this, right? There's what do I see about your company, the links, etc. And then later it's I get a chance to speak to you. When will the student or job seeker be able to see your booth and be able to see all this information? They can start filtering and finding companies up to 2 weeks before the event. So that's going to put us, just count backwards from the event. It's soon, 2 to 3 weeks from today. So as you're thinking about how soon do I need to get this information online, this gives you a timeline to consider. When a student is being educated about visiting a fair, they're being told to do company research. The research is going to include your handshake jobs. If they go to the jobs and see there's nothing for me, that's their indicator that I'm not going to visit them on the day of the fair. So again, as you're thinking about what to populate, just consider that. Students will be able to filter by location. They'll be able to filter for positions, what you're hiring for full-time, part-time. All those are the filters that are available to students. Students will also be able to see your resume Dropbox. In Jobs Connected, you will not be given a resume book. We will not send you the resumes of everybody that participated in the fair. The way that you collect resumes through Jobs Connected is with the resume Dropbox. And I'll go into some details, but the short answer is that it is a job that you post in Handshake that you're not going to name it accountant, you're not going to name it IT specialist, you're going to name it resume Dropbox. So it's a job that you post and name it resume Dropbox dash George Mason Virtual Fall Fair. And then that's when students can submit their resume through that job that is a resume Dropbox. So we have detailed instructions for you, and we're here to walk you through that. Please feel free to lean on us as a resource. 1 week before the fair, your Q&A feature goes live. What does that mean? Students can ask you questions. Job seekers can ask you questions in advance of the fair. So someone at your company should be tasked with monitoring the Q&A. Whoever registered for the event is going to get an email notifying you that a student or a job seeker asked a question. So just whoever it was that registered should probably stay on top of that, or at least once a day, just log in and check to see if there's anything there that people are asking. Day of the event. How exactly are you going to get into Jobs Connected? Because I just told you only one person is registering. What about everybody else? Jobs Connected will send you a link 1 to 2 days before the event. It is possible even on the morning of the fair that they might send you the link on that day, but just be looking for it. Who's getting the link? The person who registered. The person who registered will then push that link out to any of your staff who need it. And when they click on the link on the day of the fair, they're going to go into Jobs Connected right into your booth. So only one link for all participants at your company. So it doesn't matter how many people you forward it to, everyone can use that link. It probably also is a really good idea to schedule yourself to arrive at least 20 minutes early for a tech check. Bernadette, I see lots of questions coming into the Q&A. Is there something we should be talking about?
Yes, well, one of the questions was divided, one person adding into the Q&A, so I'm not 100% sure of the exact question when they're asking about attendees. If that person could just let me know a bit more. I'm not talking, are they talking about their own representatives, how they add them, or are you talking about students? So the second question was on ways to talk to the students individually, since this is initially a group experience, and I said we would be covering that all together, and you have that on the list to cover in the next few minutes.
Yes, we actually have the top 3 most asked questions from our employer partners, so that is a slide that we'll be getting to. Thank you. So again, just wanted to make sure you knew, one person registers for the Jobs Connected platform. A day or 2 before the fair, you get a link. Everyone that you want at your company to attend the fair, you should email them that link. Just forward it to them. And on that day of the fair, they click on the link and they go right into the booth. That's how they get there. I already mentioned this, but one person should be staffed on chat, one person to staff on video, and also consider people do need to get up and walk away from the computer, or your child might cry or the dog might bark. So who's on backup? Thinking through these logistics is a little bit different than we would have at the face-to-face fair. So just putting that out there for those of you, that 57% of you who didn't go to a virtual fair previously. Breaks are totally okay. But all we ask is that someone on your staff is scheduled to stay till 3. So even if it's a rotation, maybe in the morning the finance people come in, maybe in the afternoon the IT people come in, that's fine. But just, think through those logistics. Here's how you can take a break. Students will get a chance to speak to you, right? So they go into your booth and they say, speak to the employer. They go into the fair where we saw the video earlier, and this is what they see. You've shared your screen that says you're taking a break and that you'll be back in a little bit. Totally okay. We all have to take breaks from time to time. So just create the slide in advance. This is literally just a PowerPoint slide. You could have typed it inside Microsoft Word. Amazon did something fancy for one of our previous fairs. This is how they did it. So when people, you see on the left-hand side, right, that Amazon chose to leave their email address there so that anyone that got in that maybe couldn't come back for 2 o'clock still had access to that email address. Just some options for taking a break, but I wanted to put it out there because that was a popular question we got during the last fair. Many of you are probably thinking, I got this, doesn't sound that difficult, I'm a tech person, or I have a tech person on staff, but for anyone that's feeling nervous, this part's definitely for you. Before the fair, Jobs Connected offers support. All you have to do is just email support@Jobs Connected. They will, as I mentioned, upload videos, they'll get on the phone with you, they'll actually schedule practice sessions, which it says later on the slide. Whatever it is that you need. And they're not just there during or before the fair, they're there during the fair too. So on the day of the fair, when you click on the link that Jobs Connected sent you and you get into your booth, what you're going to see is someone from Jobs Connected. They actually have a little bot that sits in there with you. And if you were to click it, they'll join you in your booth. They'll also send someone around in your booth to talk to you just to make sure there's not any last minute questions. We'll also give you phone numbers closer to the fair, so if you needed to pick up the phone and talk to them. All that is available. So don't worry, whether you need them before or during, they're going to be right there. Here are the 3 top questions that Bernadette and I get from our employer partners, either during the fair, leading up to the fair, so we thought we'd answer them. How can you take breaks? Here it is. I just showed you the screen to show your away slide. You can actually, before the fair, we were talking earlier about the fact that you can put information about your company, or you can add links. When I had toggled over to that Word document, you can actually list a schedule for yourself. You know, 1 o'clock, we're going to be talking about this. 2 o'clock, we'll be talking about that. So at 1:45, there's no expectation that something's happening. You could step away. So you can also delineate for people what's happening and then just share your screen to show that you're on a break. Or you can just staff other people to come take over for you so that you can step away. How do you collect resumes? We talked about this already too. Resume Dropbox. So on Handshake, you're going to create a new job, and that's what it's going to be called, Resume Dropbox. I believe this is in one of Bernadette's emails. If you haven't received it already, we'll make sure it's in the next follow-up email to today's webinar. So you can go ahead and get your Resume Dropbox up there. I can tell you that one of our employers, actually many of our employers for this fair have already done that. But I was just looking at the Resume Dropbox this morning, and some people already have 7 or 10 different resumes they've collected, even though the fair is a month away. So feel free to go ahead and open that up now. Finally, one-on-one sessions, very popular question. You get into the fair, there's someone you're talking to, you want to talk to them even more. This platform doesn't have a breakout session, so we're not going to be able to grab that student and go off into a private session. It is meant to be a group atmosphere. So the way that we'd like to handle this is with a post-event situation, such as virtual interviewing. So we offer typically on-campus interviewing, our OCI program. We're offering virtual interviewing right now. So Christy Michaels, who's our employer relations coordinator, can get you scheduled for the day after the event, whether that's the Friday or the Monday after the event, so you can meet the students or meet the job seekers one-on-one. Now, if you would like to provide your own technology, such as a Zoom room that's open somewhere, and you give that to a student and say, come meet me in my Zoom room, or you email the student and say, meet me at this Zoom room, you can also do that. Those are the 2 options that we have available for this platform, if you'd like to try a one-on-one session. And as we talk a little more today, we're happy to answer questions about that. So I asked the question once already, but how will you fill up 4 hours of people coming into your room? You're repeating yourself. We'd like to talk about career fair strategy with you. We're not going to do this exclusively today, though, because now that we've given you all this information and different items to consider, we'd like to schedule a second session, a second webinar where we talk exclusively about strategy. But just a few things off the top of my head. Scheduled presentations. You saw earlier that Make-A-Wish had a scheduled presentation where she shared her screen and walked through the internship programs, because that's really what she was there to try to excite students about. So you can schedule presentations. On your main career fair page, you can actually list those presentations. So students know at 1 o'clock, Mason alumni are going to be speaking. At 2 o'clock, last summer's interns are going to be speaking. You can select anecdotes in advance. Someone should be ready to talk about a Mason alum that transitioned and did well, for example. But select which stories you might want to talk about and get those rehearsed and ready to go. You might also want to copy and paste. Get ready to copy and paste with a Word doc into the chat. That could be something that's helpful. Mason alum meet and greet, I just mentioned, and company or industry insights. Our students are being sent to the fair to research and to learn from you as industry professionals. What can you tell them about your industry? cutting edge technology, new developments, what's on the horizon. So these are the ways that you fill up the 4 hours, by giving them some information, and then of course hearing from them as well. But in the virtual space, it's a little bit different than it is face-to-face. So these are some ways that, different strategies you can consider. For those of you who want to talk more about strategy, yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I've got one question that I think will be useful to the whole group, that it's for you to explain as opposed to me just texting. But for example, the protocols that we did as to signing into the virtual room or the virtual booth, what do you do when you're in the virtual booth as students arrive? And I think that's very important because students can sometimes be really shy, we noticed, and that would be really good for you to explain to everyone.
Thanks, Bernadette. I appreciate that. So to me, some of that is strategy. So I just wanted to quickly wrap this slide up by saying that we're going to have a strategy session where we open up a room and we walk through and give you some really good tips and advice, things that we've seen work well. We talk to our colleagues, both employers as well as career services professionals. So next Wednesday at 12 noon, if you'd like to join us, you'll get a second invite. It's all strategy. So a couple of things. When you click on the link on the morning of the career fair, you'll be prompted to enter your name. So you're going to enter, for example, Bob, and then open parentheses, ERPI, for example. So that way we know what company you're with. Or it could say Mason alumni. That's another thing that you could choose to put on there. Or maybe you want to advertise your gender pronouns, for example, to show inclusivity. So these are the things that you could put after your name, because we had talked earlier about making sure that it's obvious who the recruiter is. That's one piece of this. And Bernadette, you had another question for me as well?
It was more how to interact with the students as they come into the room. They don't all necessarily come in at one time, so we had some suggestions as to how to do that and how to talk to them.
Yes, so that's a good question. So again, this to me is career fair strategy. What's going to happen is that students they've seen documentation that said they shouldn't interrupt your conversation, right? Just like normally everybody's standing in a line, I don't cut to the front of the line, I wait my turn. So what does it mean to wait your turn in a virtual setting? Students will enter, they see that the room's already full. I also mentioned earlier that there's a little lag between the time that you first see their name pop up on the left under attendees, and it will say audio connecting. It'll let you know if they're not connected yet though. So what you'll want to do is once you see their video or their audio, you'll want to welcome them. You'll want to actually call them by name and let them know, because we don't know what the other 49 employers in the other rooms have told them. Maybe somebody else told them, you're 20th in line, for example. They don't know if they were, what other advice the other employers have given. So my advice would be to say, hello, welcome, Bob. Thanks for being here. We're just wrapping up this conversation. I'll talk with you in just a moment. Or, Bob, thanks for being here. Feel free to jump in. We're talking about this particular issue in our industry. So letting the student know what the expectation is. Also, I mentioned that a job seeker from Mason, because of the advantage that we have, which is that we're in everybody's backyard, right? All the HQs are around here. They may not have a lot of virtual experience. So letting them know, I don't hear you yet. I can't see you yet. Your video is stuttering, for example. You might want to call that out and give them some pointers. It probably also, again, it's a learning opportunity for a lot of students, a lot of job seekers. The first experience will be at this fair. The next thing they're going to do, of course, is either network with you at a private event, that one-on-one we just talked about, or come out for an interview virtually. So if you see something that someone's doing that's particularly good, you might want to point that out as well. Everyone, I just wanted to compliment, whoever it is, because she did a really good job when she was just answering that question, for example. Or if you see a background that maybe is particularly appealing or appropriate, you might want to point that out. So this is all learning for everybody. It's like certainly for your own staff, but also for our students. Does that answer the question? So again, I think announcing to them that you see them, that you hear them, and what the expectation is. Feel free to jump into the conversation, or I'll be with you in just a moment. Students also, they're not yet professionals in some cases, meaning that they're still growing into that role. So you might want to just, again, think about how you're going to help them to get there. All right, so this is some strategy that we'll be getting to next week. We do have a third poll question that Bernadette can launch for us, and this is the third and final poll question.
Yes, just give me 1 second. I will get poll question number 3 ready, and I'm going to launch it.
All right, I mentioned earlier the virtual interview that Mason offers. So if you're interested, let us know. If not, let us know. We would be interested to know where everybody stands at this point. We have about 60% of the vote in. We'll give you another 5 or 8 seconds or so, and then we'll look at the results. Okay, Bernadette, that works.
Okay, let me end that, and I will share the results of the poll with everyone.
Okay, so we have a little more than half with no, a little less than half with yes. So if you're someone that's interested and you'd like to explore that option with us, we're certainly happy to help you. Feel free to reach out to Christy Michaels. And actually, as part of our follow-up today, Bernadette, maybe we can share Christy's contact information so we can get that scheduled in advance of the fair.
Okay, good idea. I'll stop sharing the results now.
And then, of course, if you think about it, when a student comes into the booth, they always want to know, and we'll talk about this in strategy sessions, but what next? When will I see you again? When will I hear from you again? And if the answer is we're coming back to Mason for a virtual interview session, then that's the answer. And it's always good for them to have a good sense of when will I see you again? How should I follow up? These are all questions that job seekers have. So what we're going to do at this time is I've just placed our signature event slide on the shared screen here. So what is it that George Mason University is doing the entire semester to engage job seekers and employers? Here's our lineup. We're still busy. So please feel free to take a look at that. And I'm going to turn now and take questions to make sure everybody's comfortable and knows what it is that this platform is about and what the fair looks like. So I'm very happy to take those questions and make sure we get you some answers. We can even unmute you. If you'd like to be unmuted to ask a question, we're happy to do that as well. Just let us know.
So I think, Victoria, while we're waiting, the number of questions we are getting is a lot about the interaction within the room and how do we have a conversation. We've seen all kinds of different things. Sometimes employers have a couple of people in the room to answer different questions. As students come in, this one has that question, this one has that. Because they're together, they're getting it is a kind of group experience, and they're learning from the other questions as well. So I suppose that is a new kind of setup for our employers.
Yes, and so what if I had to guess at a face-to-face career fair, when there's a line, you're answering the first person's question, they walk away, the next person comes up with the same question, you answer it again, they leave. So you're answering the same thing again and again and again, in all likelihood. Whereas this is, you have to guess that most people in the room have similar questions, right? There's probably the top 10 or 15 questions that you always get at career fairs. What are those? You should assume that most people have the same questions, or at least the same category of questions, and try to answer them. So for example, as they're coming in, you could just let them know, for anyone that hasn't done research about our company, a few fun facts, this. Something that you should know, the qualifications to work with us is this. Those are, this is the way to handle it. I've seen employers ask students, I've seen faculty ask students, anyone have any questions? Not everyone's as comfortable asking, especially when there's 30 people listening. So letting them know, if you have a question, you can toss it in the chat. And if you're looking at the chat, oh, someone asked a great question, let us go ahead and talk about this as a group.
So we have a couple of other questions coming in. One is, when will the recording be sent out after?
This is a good question. Something that I believe has to happen, Bernadette, is that we need to have someone in the accessibility department take a peek at this video to make sure that the closed captioning is accurate. So just to let you know, to give us some patience as that goes through. So that way everybody has access to this video. So that could take just a little bit of time while we turn it over, and then we'll send you the link. And
then I think just as in a broader strategy, when people are asking about Are they in one big room or are they in their own room? And I think that's also new for this particular platform, where the students will be able to see all the employers when they arrive, but you will be in your individual room.
Mm-hmm. And so just to let you know, when a student, so the way that it happens is a student enters the platform, right? So they log in and then they see a list of all the employers with your logo and your name, and they're asking to click into the booth. When they get into the booth is where they see your videos, your brochures, all the text about your company, what jobs you're hiring for, and it tells them, do you want to talk to this employer? And if they click yes, talk to the employer, that's when they enter what you see on screen here, which is this chat room full of people that are on video, that are chatting on the left. So that's kind of the path to how they get to you.
So one person is asking, the platform feels a bit like an information session, not a job fair. And so they're looking forward to the strategy session.
Mm-hmm.
We have had very good feedback from our employers. They find this system, this platform, very intuitive and fairly comfortable. It seems to be easy to get on. So a lot of new things in our new virtual world.
Absolutely.
I have one or two questions that are not quite related to our fair, which I will answer offline.
Sure.
And I think that has covered most of the concerns that I see in the question and answer, Victoria.
Okay, and then, I mean, again, I really do invite you to come back next week for this strategy session. We didn't want to try to lump everything together just because it's so much information. Like right now, it's already 12:45, so to try to start a whole strategy session would be something different. So we hope to see you again. Take advantage. Jobs Connected will walk you through the platform. When I send you the document that we were walking through earlier on with all those screenshots on it, I embedded a video where you can actually get in and see the platform at play. What does it look like when a student is looking at your booth in advance of the fair as well as on the day of? So we've given you that video link. We'll point it out to you. Get your resume book or the resume Dropbox up there ASAP so people can start dropping that in there. If you see someone in your resume Dropbox that you like, invite them to come see you at the fair. The students, again, they're becoming professionals. Some of them might not have quite that confidence. So hearing from you, letting them know, I want to see you, come on out. That means a lot at Mason. A Mason student wants to hear that the employer saw them, hears them, has a spot for them, even if it's just for a conversation. So that's the type of information we'll be talking about more in depth on next Wednesday. Bernadette and I will hang out here for a little while just to answer questions. And like I said, if someone wants to be unmuted and have a conversation with us, we're happy to do that. But you can probably stop recording now, Bernadette, and we will just stay behind for Q&A.
Okay.
Great. Thank you for being here, everybody. I hope this has been helpful, and we'll have an email